Welcome.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank IBM for bringing me here out of London grayness, even if it seems that London weather has followed me, but never mind. So, as Robert mentioned, what I'm going to do in my 10 minutes is really try to share with you the main findings of a very exciting research program we have been doing in the past year or so with IBM. The idea is really taking stock. Nowadays we can see, and we have seen, and Robert has mentioned, really the cloud has become, and it's increasingly becoming, the mainstream model to deliver IT services. So it's really time to take stock and see what are first of all, the fundamentals which allow companies to really leverage the power of the cloud, not just for cloud reduction, for cost reduction, but more really to increase revenue opportunities and sales channel, and really contribute to the economic success of the companies. So we've done that. We have worked with experts, and we did interviews with practitioners, and we have identified 5 elements of what we call a successful cloud strategy. The 5 elements very quickly are aligned strategy. I mean, it's probably things that are not new to you, but it's very important the cloud strategy, the IT strategy is part of the overall business strategy of a company. So it has to be really very much integrated and be part of the same idea of what are our business goals, what do we want to do with the company, and obviously the cloud is going to support that. The second element is organizational harmony. So this idea that the cloud strategy, the IT department is really very much integrated into the general business strategy of a company. The digital culture, that's actually quite important because it has been, it's actually one of the main enablers for the full use of cloud in an optimal way. So it's something that we see in 2 ways. The cloud is actually changing the culture, but the culture could also be one of the main resistance to cloud. And this is actually one of the things we have seen through a survey we have run with top executives. The cultural barriers, especially in the I would say not digital natives in companies, have been in the past 2 years one of the main barriers to cloud adoption. So not just these kind of cultural barriers, but also some barriers have been seen in the IT department as such. Actually, the IT department in some companies has been the one to actually be quite resistant to adopt cloud, since they've seen it as one threat to their jobs and and importance in the company. So we have seen that actually this is something that has been an obstacle, but is disappearing. So there is actually a change in the culture, and the culture is becoming much more conducive for cloud usage. The other element which is important for us is really the dynamic infrastructure. So this idea that actually the cloud and the IT must kind of be integrated and used in the most optimal way according to the business needs of a company. So not just go straight for private cloud or public clouds, but really adapt and choose, pick, and adapt, and have a cloud strategy which is really in line with what are the constraints and the needs of a company. And the last element is good governance. Obviously, cloud comes with a host of issues: privacy, data privacy, security of the data, legal compliance with the data around data privacy. So this is actually one of the issues which is quite important, and it's something that we see also going forward as one of the main problems, one of the main obstacles. What we did also, once we have identified these 5 main fundamentals for cloud maturity, we have actually run a survey with about 850 business executives spread across 5 different sectors. And with the results of the survey, which was really interesting in terms of assessing where companies when companies are with respect to these cloud maturity curves, we have been able to map actually and to quantify, which is actually quite interesting, the cloud maturity of different sectors, as well as the cloud maturity within the sector. So in terms of what is the percentage of heavy users of cloud. I won't have time, obviously, to share all these results, but just a few insights. So the first one, it's really something that, just following up on what Robert was saying, cloud maturity pace, in the sense that if you look at these slides, it's actually from the survey, the exclusive survey we run with our panel of executives, especially for what we call high maturity companies, which are the companies in which 60% or over of their IT services are in the cloud. You can see that actually the cloud maturity seems to be correlated to economic performance of the companies in terms of better revenues and profit performance. Obviously, as you know, being an economist, I need to say it, correlation is not causation, but still it's quite interesting to see that there is this kind of correlation, very strong correlation between the two elements. Just for you to understand the data, so the low maturity one is the white bar, and the red is the high maturity companies. And you can see actually for high maturity company, the percentage of company which significantly outperform or slightly outperform the competitors is much higher than for low maturity. So really cloud maturity pace in that respect. Correlated to that is really the idea of cloud being a platform for growth. It's quite interesting because what Robert mentioned probably for low maturity companies is still that, but in general, in the past, cloud was really associating more to cost reduction. This is not anymore what it is, and it's not anymore what it is, especially for cloud mature companies. So really, cloud is now seen as a way to, if you look at the graph and the high maturity companies, it's really seen as a way to boost consumer demand, to improve data access and analysis and usage, and expand the sales channels. So really, cloud has become, for this company who are using it quite heavily, one of the way to really boost their economic performance and business success. Something else we have seen in our research, there are so many findings, it's quite difficult to just pinpoint a few, but this is actually another very interesting finding, is the fact that cloud usage is actually in a way healing this rift, which we've seen in many companies between the IT department and the rest of the organization. Companies which are big, heavier use, which have heavier use of cloud, are more likely to report that the IT department serves the business needs. As you see again, it's red, white. So red is the heavy users of cloud. You see that for the heavy users of cloud, actually the level of satisfaction in terms of how the IT department is performing and is supporting the overall business strategy is much higher with respect that company which are kind of lighter user of cloud. So this is something that it's also going to improve. What we have done in our survey, we actually always ask to our respondents what was the situation in the last 2 years and what do they expect in the next 2 years. So this is something that we see improving in general for the complete sample of companies. Just to give you some numbers, our sample overall, if we look across the sector, 1/3 of our sample is actually can be qualified as heavy users of the cloud. So it's quite interesting because it's quite a small subset still with respect to the full sample. Cloud culture, what I was mentioning earlier on, this is a very interesting aspect of cloud adoption. And it has to do really with the fact that cloud, once we manage in a way to have all the employees embrace it, it's really empowering employees. So if you see, this is actually a list of the most important ways in which the cloud technology are changing and have changed in the past 2 years the culture of the organization of the people surveyed. So you see that this is the idea that the cloud has actually allowed employees to embrace technology more readily. And this is interesting because it actually refers to the fact that to this kind of distinction I mentioned earlier on between actually digital natives and digital immigrants, people that, which haven't the experience of the millennial, that have been, they don't know a word without Facebook or Twitter. So it's quite interesting because this seems that in the past 2 years, there has been really a success in most of the organizations we surveyed in really embracing kind of getting the digital immigrant up to speed, and really changing the culture in general of the companies on how really technology needs to be used and how technology is actually helping them to do their job better. So my last slide, and is actually also kind of open to leave you with some reflection, is that notwithstanding all the progress we have seen in the past 2 years, in really adopting a strategic approach to cloud and really integrate cloud in the general business strategies of company, and really in using cloud as an enabler of economic growth and more revenues, fewer than a quarter of the organization have a cross-functional cloud strategy. This is for the panel overall. If we look at heavy users, these numbers is higher, is about 44%. But if we look at light users of cloud, this is about 13%. So there is still quite a lot to do in order to really leverage the power of the cloud. And I'm looking forward to hearing all your insight and thought about that. But I think what is important to point out from the research, and I'm happy to share also the more insight of the research later bilaterally, is that for us, really what we have found is that there has been definitely a lot of progress in the last 2 years. We see more progress going forward, more and more companies becoming heavy users, but there are a number of elements which needs to be addressed really to leverage fully the potential of the cloud, and one is actually the governance, the good governance of the cloud, and the other one, it's really also this idea of really having this kind of much more strategic vision and inclusion of the cloud in the overall business strategy. Thank you very much.